I'm Travis McPhail. I'm a principal engineer in Geo. Geo is the broader business unit that has the portfolio products of Maps, Earth, Street View, and among some other things. I really want to talk with you a little bit about Geos, our why, and give you a little taste of like some of the things that we do behind the scenes that fuel this platform that we offer to developers and businesses that have developer or tech component to their presence and operation, and just give you kind of like a high level view of products and services that you can incorporate within your applications. And I want to kind of leave room for discussion, Q&A, so we can kind of go into some particulars if you happen to have questions top of mind. So with that, let's talk about location. So in Geo, our primary asset, if you will, is geospatial location data. And it's kind of a thing for us since it's literally the thing that's fused in like all of our everyday lives. And luckily, there's a lot of this stuff and it's always changing. So that means job security for me. Sorry, excuse me 1 second. Tell people not to ping me right now. Anyway, they don't listen. All right, so job security. Well, so what do you think about when you think of location data? Well, location, you can think of all the businesses that we have in the world. Think about the streets, buildings, canyons, mountains, hills, waterways, you name it. So in Geo, our primary mission is to really build kind of like this physical index of the world and provide that to developers, customers, and your end users for whatever use cases you are providing for your end users in more creative and more meaningful and easier ways. There is a problem though, and it's a big challenge. So the world is constantly changing. So if you think about the number of businesses worldwide that open and close each day, the new sets of roads that are being constructed, road closure information, there could be construction happening with roads, roads can be decommissioned, new buildings, residential homes, communities are being built, office spaces are being built, old ones are being torn down, streets are renamed, you name it. The world is quite the dynamic space to really curate and keep maintained. So how do we in Geo manage this? Well, I'll talk a little bit about the platform that we've curated and give you a little taste of like how we manage this behind the scenes and use that to really kind of talk about the services and capabilities that we provide to developers. So once again, just grounding folk for the people that are coming in. All right, so Google Maps, we started in 2005. I was not there when we started. And since then, the organization has done quite a bit. So we've mapped from the ocean's depths all the way to the surfaces of Mars and Venus, and a lot of things in between. But fundamentally, we find ourselves consistently asking us the following question. So how do you map the world? And it's a question that continues to evolve year after year as the world changes and we have different constraints that are put upon us. So when you think of the world, a lot of people anchor on, hey, the road network in major cities, you want to get people from point A to point B. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but that is not everything or remotely close to everything that we have to really assess here. Like we need to be able to bring addresses from like homes and remote villages in different parts of the world, or even places where there's actually no addresses and no cities, and really connect individuals to that. We need to connect businesses in every major cities, no matter where, in whatever nook and cranny they might be within major cities, we need to provide that to end users so that people can more effectively take action on the world. So sometimes, I won't give you some of these stories, but sometimes the accuracy that we have to curate is pretty insane, down to the centimeter level. So how in the heck do we do all this? Well, we strap, there's actually a number of ways we do this, but like we strap cameras on funny looking cars and we drive a bunch of them. But not only that, we strap cameras on a lot of car-like things. And, you know, you send people off and you off for like 13 years and great, you have a map. I'm also just lying. It's not that easy at all. This helps us kind of bring that initial coverage, but once you cover a place, that place changes, and that place changes extremely frequently. So we also need to leverage our end user base. So Google Maps, we have about 1 billion daily active users that are contributing updates on the world. About 60 million of those are what we call local guides, who really provide millions of daily updates per day, and to keep a lot of our business and POI information fresh. And then we provide this information back to developers in the products and services that we offer. But that's not all we do, because even with all of these different sources of input, there are humans that still are a bottleneck in that process. So like if you look at this picture here, this is kind of an example of a street view image. So a snapshot of one of those camera lenses on the cameras on top of a street view car. And if you look here, this is actually the pixel resolution. This is actually the address. This is in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We can have human operators try to tease out all of these addresses in these images, but that, one, is extremely manually intensive, and two, it's hard for humans to actually decipher this because these cars are on the move. You can't guarantee that you have like a pristine quality, even with people who have corrective vision like myself. Can't really get all of these, get all this information well. So we bring, I say we bring robots, but we really bring ML models here we train ML models to get meaningful information out of these images, like addresses. And so like last year, I believe we used ML to derive around 30 million addresses in Sao Paulo, Brazil, just as an example, with no human intervention. And so when you tie all of this information together, we provide a developer-facing platform that really has 3 core services. And those core services are places, routes, and maps. So let me talk a little bit about each of those. So I've talked about location data and like curating all this location. So like to give you a little taste of how we offer this portfolio of APIs and services really aims to allow developers ways of getting information about a place. And you may have a map that's in your web applications or your mobile applications that you're using to leverage this information, but these places services are actually disparate, and they can be used for, I'll say, other use cases, and we can talk about some of those valid use cases more so in the Q&A. But our Places API, the foundation of this is a backend API that provides where you're able to search for places based off of phone number, physical address, and some other real-time signals here. We provide convenience web services within our Maps JavaScript API that allow you to makes those places calls on your behalf. And we have additional UI widgets and affordances for auto completion. So if you have let's say a text box in your web application and you're typing, hey, Georgia Tech Stadium, we'll be pre-populating things that your end users might want to get more information about. And when they select a place, you actually get a lot of the information. There's a good amount of information about that place at your fingertips. So you can have things like open and closing hours, like some limited information around parking availability, things of this nature. There's quite a substantial list of metadata for places that developers can use, but put that aside for a second. We also offer comparable services in our native mobile SDKs. So we have Android and iOS SDK for places that has the comparable functionality. So whichever of the kind of like three primary platforms that are out there in the world, iOS, Android, and the web, we provide a good solution for you there. But not only that, we also have services where you can provide lat long for a given place, and we'll give you the time zone for that position on the world and like a UTC offset as well. We also have a geocoding API, which lets you convert an address as well as place codes to an actual place with all the information that I listed before about that place. And we also have that reverse mapping where you can take an ID for a place that we've already provided you or you get from other places, as well as or a lat long location, and we can give you the places that correspond to that location. Excuse me. And we also have geolocation API. So if your end users have mobile devices and you as a developer don't have access with the GPS, or the GPS is very wonky and doesn't provide you great signal, we also have a geolocation API that allows you to use a lot of different additional information like Wi-Fi nodes and cell tower information and a few other twiddles to give you an approximate location and a radius of accuracy around there. So even if we can't give you precise location for privacy reasons from the end user perspective, we can give you approximation that still keeps the privacy of that user safe. One of the large use cases, well, both the places use cases like the largest use case that we have, but another large offering that we have is routing. So we route, how many developer trips do we have? We push around 800 million daily trips and fuel 800 million daily trips. So if you think about like Lyft, if you think about Gojek, if you think about Grab, if you think about some parts of Uber, if you, well, basically the bulk of the ride sharing industry and a larger percentage of the logistics industry is really built on top of our routing infrastructure. And that 800 million routes is disparate from the routes that people just have when you fire up Google Maps. So it kind of gives you an idea of like the volume of directions traffic that just comes from developers in their own applications that are bringing them revenue and not Google in that sense. So give you a bit more of an overview of those services. So we have the foundation of that, which is our directions API. Effectively, we give you routes from point A to B to C to D to E to F. And we can give you those directions for a number of different modes of transportation. So if you're in a car, if you're biking, if you're walking, if you're taking transit, we offer directions for all of those modes. We are improving the mixed modality travel, but that's just something, maybe I shouldn't say, but anyway, that's something that we are trying to improve on the horizon. We also offer a distance matrix. So when you get a you're using a ride sharing app and you as a customer get matched to a driver and you get those time estimates. That's an example of customers, developers using this distance matrix where we calculate distances and time of arrival based off of real live traffic data that we have, which is anchored on a lot of the aggregate information around on where people are moving that are using Google Maps across all of our surfaces. So we use that to really fuel a lot of that traffic data. And then there's roads API. So like if we give you this direction polyline, you can slap that on the map and your drivers could, your end users could take that route, but they will inevitably go off route. And so with that and with a highly noisy GPS signal, typically on most mobile devices, you want to help your end user. You may want to help your end users better understand where they are or how they veered off path. And so we have Roads API, which takes lat long locations you can get from GPS or other signals, and we snap that to the nearest roads for you. So it gives your end user a more sanitized version of the location that hopefully can help them make better decisions while using your applications. Yeah, a couple more stats. Let's see, we have, of those 800 million daily routes are done over the 40 million miles of road that we cover. And I think we cover around 5 million roads for walking and, no, sorry, not 5 million, about 5 million transit stations across the world. So our transit routing is pretty comprehensive as well. And then coming to the last area, it's maps in general. And that really is like the visual immersive experience that you see, the evolution of like the cartographic paper map. So we have a lot of products here. So we have dynamic mobile SDKs. And what do I mean by dynamic? I mean that you as a developer can use basically a map widget or a map element and try to treat that like a UI element where the element is interactive, so your end users can drag, zoom in, pan that map. You can add content on top of that map. You can customize that map to make it look your own. It's really, we're externalizing the building block behind what you see in our consumer maps products that power our consumer products. We're giving that same building block to you all to make it your own. Use of these SDKs, the archetype here, and like it's assumed that it could be a hackathon. You can have people you need people that are willing to actually develop to really leverage the power of these offerings here. And also, all three of these SDKs not only include like the maps experiences, but there's also the Street View component as well. So you can also have a Street View experience in your app, whether or not it's a web, desktop, or mobile application, or a native Android or iOS application. But if you don't want to have the heavy lift of the SDKs, we do offer other variants. So if you just want that consumer Google Maps experience, no other tweaks, you just want that in the web page, it's not really critical for you to have a lot of power there. We offer Embed API, which is literally, think of it as just a box, and that's the consumer maps experience in your application. We also offer Static API, which is just a service that generates static images. So a static like satellite image, static base map image, also static street view images, just to put on your web and mobile properties without necessarily taking the heavy lift of bringing in the entire experience and adding that to your products portfolio. And I jumped the gun and talked about Street View a little bit ahead of time, but this is comparable. We have our Street View APIs on cross-platform as well. What am I looking like on time? Okay. So just going back to the SDKs, if you do want to take on using the SDKs themselves, you can actually make experiences that are very differentiated from what we offer on the Google Maps platform. Like this example of using customization to really provide a different look and feel for your applications. You can really adjust color palettes to align with your brand. But even beyond that, through our SDKs, we offer even a richer data sets than what we typically show to end users on our consumer apps. Here's an example of think like neighborhoods, postal codes, state boundaries in different localities. Here, this is in primarily 6 cities, and we're going to expand to another 72 over the next couple of years. But in any case, we provide richer data sets for developers, customers to make truly differentiated experiences that help your end users take action, because we don't believe that, hey, you just want, in this scenario, we don't believe that you want Google Maps in the box. You want the power of geospatial in your application, but at the end of the day, it's yours. And even taking it a step further, we, particularly on web, we provide even lower level access and integration with our platform. So if you're looking at this example, we have 2 variants of rendering for our JavaScript Maps product. One is a general raster-based easy peasy rendering infrastructure. The other is for those that are in the graphics community, is a WebGL powered 3D renderer for our vector variant of the JavaScript Maps API. And with that variant, we allow developers to really integrate their own 3D animations and customizations to have more targeted experiences. Like if you look at this is the exact same rendering infrastructure that powers maps.google.com, but it can power a completely different set of experiences and use cases. And to give you a bit of an idea on like the amount of information that changes on a daily basis, we have about, that's not quite accurate, we have around 28 million daily updates. So that equates to around 310 changes on the world per second. And that's the type of scale that we're working on. So as we're continuing to work on that scale, we're also more recently, so if you look earlier this year, we launched even further integration of geospatial on the mobile front. So we have geospatial AR core now, particularly on Android, where your end users can take their own camera feed, and we will provide services for looking at that feed, aligning it with the 3D world that we have with like Google Earth, our satellite imagery, our street view information, and give a 3D, a coarse 3D model of the area that they're in. And that provides a good substrate for you to add your own 3D content in the AR sense there. And so like more to come on that, but like we already have AR affordances within our platform that we offer this year. So like feel free to take advantage of that and give us your feedback, because we want to do more there. And with all things we want to help, we have many different channels. We have Stack Overflow, we have our public issue tracker, and we have 24/7 support for different tiers of customers. So with that, I will pause and just say thank you.